should we talk about? Have you any suggestions? Why do you want to listen to me? That's a good question. Would you kindly answer me, if you can? Why do you all gather here this morning to listen to the speaker? Are you interested in what he's talking about? Or is it an awful bore? Since you don't answer a thing, so I'll go on. Do we ever demand of ourselves the very best, the very excellence of us? Or we're always playing rather low key? You understand my question? Do we ask of ourselves something more than the average, more than the usual mediocre life? Job, house, wife, children or husband, and the rest of it. Usual routine, the rat trap. Do we ask of ourselves what it is that we really want, desire, crave for? I think it's a good question to be put and to be answered. Do I, as a human being, living in this insane world, in this really very cruel, thoughtless world, do I want to belong to all that? Do I want to settle down into an easy, comfortable life? Which doesn't mean I don't want comfort or easy life, but is this what I want? To satisfy my own desires, my own pleasures, my own sexual appetites? Do I want to live a rather narrow, limited, self-centered life? If I put that question to yourself or to myself, what would you answer? You may not want it. I may not want that kind of life. But I'm caught in an environment, in a trap, a society that's so ugly. And I'm ready to be swallowed up. If I don't allow myself to live a narrow, limited, self-centered life, can I face a life of solitude? Can I face a life which makes me go against the whole current of modern life? So it's really a good question to put oneself these questions. Or shall I join some kind of sect and get lost in it? Like Catholic Church is a sect in a large sense of that word. And I can become a monk, join a group of monks, and feel completely safe there. Or be in a small community, accepting all their rules and all that. So what kind of life does one want to lead? Is this a too serious question? Would you tell me? But Joe, you're all serious. You won't even answer. Is this too serious a question for us to understand and face? Or we are too young? I don't think it's a matter of youth or old age. I think one has to face this question very seriously, because one must learn from now on, if you are interested, if you are serious, from now on, learn how to live a life which is not merely self-centered and therefore, in a strange way, very destructive. I think we ought to begin now, however young we are, to learn a way of life that's highly intelligent, highly responsible, and yet free. Not dedicated to some cause or some ideal, but to live a life that requires all your attention, all your highest moral, ethical, intellectual excellence. I wonder if you follow all this. Do you? If I was your age, 15, 13, 14, 15, 20, if somebody asked me that question, somebody says to me at that age, do you want to live a life of great intelligence? A life that is clear, that has extraordinary sense of vitality. I really wouldn't know how to answer him. I would ask, what do you mean by being intelligent? What do you mean by that word? Because the most conservative people use that word. The most intellectual also use that word. Those who are dedicated to an ideal, to a principle, to Marxism or this or that, use also that word. And also at home we said, do be intelligent, for God's sake, they tell us. So I think we ought to find out what that word means to each one of us, to be intelligent. I think the essence of that word, the real depth of meaning of that word, is to live totally a harmonious life without any contradiction in oneself. That at all possible to live a life where your thought, your intellect isn't in opposition to your feelings, to your senses, to your affection. Are you following all this? Give me a little bit encouragement, won't you? Or am I talking nonsense? I would like to know what it is to be intelligent. After all, that's part of education. That's why we're all here. Not merely learn a lot of facts and about various subjects, but also to have that quality of intelligence that will meet life correctly, truly, accurately. Not just be dominated by our emotions or by the intellectual cunning thought. To be intelligent implies not only to have a very good mind that thinks clearly, objectively, not personally, me first, all my feelings, my emotions, my anger, problem, but to think objectively about my problems, about my desires, my anxieties, my fears, to observe them. To observe them correctly. Not distorted by saying to oneself, oh, I want this and I don't want that, this and so on. Always deny or accepting, but to look at it, to look at our feelings, at our thoughts, at our reactions as they are. Can we do that? Or at the moment of reaction, at the moment of strong feelings, we are carried away and are caught. We do things and say things which you don't mean. So gradually one develops a sense of contradiction in oneself, which obviously is not intelligence. The word intelligence means to be able to interpret what you hear correctly. Not according to your desires, to your want or your inclination or your prejudice, to hear what is said correctly. That means to listen to what is being said and not interpret it to suit you, to listen. It also means to observe your own thinking. Can you observe your thinking? Why you think this and why you think that? Why you deny this form of thinking and accept another way of thought? Can one listen and learn not only what is happening within oneself, but also what's happening around the world? So that your mind is extraordinarily alive. That's part of intelligence. Indeed. And also, intelligence implies to act. This becomes a little more difficult. To act according to the dictates of the fact. You understand what I'm saying? Is this too difficult? To act according to what is the fact. Not what you think about the fact and then act, but see what is the fact. Is this becoming too difficult? Huh? Would you tell me? Fact. What is a fact? Fact is, say you're greedy. That's a fact. Greedy for clothes, greedy for more food, greedy for power, greedy for various forms of pleasure and so on. Greedy. That's a fact. Every other, say, being greedy To deny it is a non-fact, isn't it? Right? Right? You see that? So, to be observed greed, understand greed, what is implied in greed, what are the consequences of greed, and act with the full understanding of the implications of what is involved in that greed. You understand what I'm saying? Or is that too much? I'm jealous. Suppose I'm jealous. That's a fact, right? Why am I jealous? As we went into it the other day, jealousy comes into being through various forms of comparison, right? I compare myself with you. We're more clever, more bright, more intelligent, nicer looking, all the rest of it. So, in comparing myself with you, who are something what I want to be, I am denying the fact of what I am, right? Do you see that? Huh? Oh, Lordy. Puja. If I see I'm greedy, if I'm aware of it at all, then what shall I do? What's my action? To pursue that greed and fulfill that greed? Wait, I'll explain. I'm greedy for power. Suppose I'm greedy for power, which means possession, domination over others. Also, it involves cruelty. And greedy for power in different forms, right? You understood? Political power, economic power, religious power, power over my family, my wife, my husband, is the desire to dominate, right? That's simple, isn't it? No, right? So, I'm greedy for power. And I never examine the whole complex process of greed, but I want to fulfill, I want to pursue that greed, right? I don't examine why I'm greedy, what's involved in greedy, what are the responsibility in being greedy, where it is going to lead. Because the whole world, as you observe, is driven by greed, right? The politicians, the priests, the whole social network, right, is the movement of greed in different forms. And I also am greedy. Now, so I say, what is the intelligent action? What shall I do which is intelligent? You understand my question? Are you following this? Do I examine the consequences of greed, which means I won't immediately participate in the activities of greed, right? I take time to examine why I'm greedy. Is it my conditioning? Is it, I've observed others in power, with their cars, with their entourage, with their, patronage, with their all the rest of it. And I would like to be like that. Is that why I'm greedy? Or I'm greedy because I am very lonely. I feel I can't, there's something empty in me, and I try to cover that up, run away from it in the form of greed. So what shall I do? You understand my question? I'm greedy, and I see the whole world in different ways, and their activities are based on greed. And apparently that's the current of the world. Shall I join them? Shall I become part of them? Part of this vast river of greed? So I'm examining, before I plunge into greed, the whole nature of greed. Will you do that? Because in greed, there's a great deal of conflict. Isn't it? I'm always exercising great effort in trying to become something. Right? I'm not accepting the fact, but trying to change the fact to something else. And therefore there's constant conflict. Right? Are you following all this? So can I, before I plunge into the activities of greed, examine why a human being like myself, like yourself, are greedy? Why? Is it that one is dissatisfied with oneself? Is it that by accumulating a lot of things, not only things materially, but other qualities, psychological qualities, you will be somebody? You following all this? Isn't it any form of, any urge to become something is a form of greed, isn't it? I wonder if you understand all this. Surely, I want to learn, say for example, Spanish. Well, I'd like to be able to understand the language, speak in it or write in it. That's not greedy, is it? But when I want to become something, psychologically, inwardly, I want to become better than I am, I want to become less or more of something, I want to become the governor of a state, or executive somebody, or chief foreman in a factory. The psychological becoming is a form of greed. Isn't it? So I see the whole nature of greed and I say, what shall I do? Is it greedy when you need things? Clothes, food, shelter, which implies money. Is that greed when your activities are based on need? Would you kindly go? Huh? Is that greed? I need a house, not a room. I like to be a nice room, nicely proportioned, perhaps a little garden if I can afford it. That's not greed, is it? That's shelter. What do you say? Come on, sirs, discuss with me. But when I have my house or the room, and I say I must have a better room or better house than that man or that woman, you understand? Then I am beginning to have the beginnings of greed. So, does it mean that I must be satisfied with what I have? Are you following all this carefully? I have a room. I like that room, it's all right. But my needs are satisfied in that room. And when I want a bigger room, bigger house, bigger this or that, I am exceeding my needs. You following all this? And then that becomes greed, doesn't it? Huh? You're following this? Therefore, I'll have to find out what my needs are. Are you prepared to go into all this? I want to find out what my needs are. Each man according to his need. That's what one of the Marxist sayings. You know who's Karl Marx, don't you? Oh, no. All right. What are my needs? Who will decide my needs? Will you decide my needs? Huh? Or will I decide your needs? Would you like me to decide your needs? Would you? You wouldn't. Either me, or your parents, or your state, or your priest. You wouldn't like them to decide what you need. So you have to find out what your needs are. Go on, sir. I'll go into it. As nobody is going to decide for you what your needs are, you have then the responsibility of choosing what your needs are. How will you decide that? Come on, sirs. That's your problem, isn't it? Some of your problems. Or you don't decide. Go slowly, I'm going to go. You don't decide what your needs are. Because needs may be changing from year to year, right? Needs. That's me. I may need this year a winter coat if I stay in England. If I go to India, I don't need a winter coat if I'm going to the south. So how do I decide or find out what my needs are all the time, not just while I'm at school or I'm this, all my life? How shall I find out? You're following all this? It's a rather interesting question if you go into it carefully. If I decide my needs are these, and find later on my decision was not correct, then why did I base my first decision saying this is what I need? You're following all this? I may decide to have few clothes, 2 trousers, or a couple of suits, or whatever it is. But as I move, as I live, I may need more. So why should I decide what my needs are? I won't allow you to decide what my needs are, or the state, or the priest, or somebody else. But I am trying to find out if there is a way which is not based on need. You understand? What do you say, sir? If I restrict myself to what I need, it becomes a very small affair, doesn't it? I need a couple of this, couple of that, and I become a petty little mind. But if I won't act upon what I need. I put those aside. I'm not concerned with what I need. I won't decide what I need. Which means what? I've already have the inkling of intelligence operating. You understand what I'm talking? Do you understand? If I say I need 10 pair of trousers and this and that, I'm restricting my life to a very small quantity, isn't it? Or to a very large quantity. But I want to look at it, what my needs are, from a totally different point of view, which is to have the intelligence that is never a slave to needs. I don't know how to put this. Beg pardon?
Why is it bad to restrict yourself to need? What is wrong with taking need into consideration?
What is wrong with the consideration of needs? There is something wrong in it, isn't there? I don't know, you tell me. I feel it's wrong. I'll tell you. What do you think?
One can reduce one's needs to very little.
What do you say, sir? So you're grown-up people. What do you say?
Are you saying calculating about needs.
Not only calculating, but much more subtle. Go on, inquire into it.
Are you saying there are other factors other than just basic need which are in some way essential?
I need food. Why do I decide about food? I need food. I need a certain amount of vitamins and all the rest of it. That's finished. There's no decision about it.
There's many decisions on what we eat.
Which is what? I've exercised my intelligence to investigate what the body needs. Certain amount of vitamins, all the rest of that business. So it's not based on need. It's based on the investigation of what the body requires. No. I wouldn't call that a need, would you?
Difference between need and want.
Yes, sir. We made that difference. Need and want. I need certain amount. Body needs, quote, or don't use that word. Body requires certain vitamins, certain proteins, certain quantities of this and that. Well, it wants it. It is necessary for its existence.
So I'm trying to say that whenever our minds interfere with what the body needs, then it starts the...
But the mind has inquired into it. The scientists have inquired, biologists and so on, have inquired what the body needs, requires. They have studied, and I have also somewhat inquired into it, and we see the body requires this. I've exercised my mind. But I'm objecting to the restriction of that word.
So you're saying there's something limiting about needs. I'm not quite sure what you mean by something limiting.
Isn't it very limiting? When you say, I need this and I'm not going to do anything else. I need so many things. Isn't there a different approach to this question? You see, you're not in. What do you say, sir?
So, but in this case, aren't we talking on a purely physical level? I mean, I need so many
Look,
clothes.
and the physical level is fairly simple. But it's much more difficult when you go into psychological area where you say, I need companions. I need sex. I need to be loved. And I'm saying, is there a way of looking at all this, not in terms of need, but with a much wider look? So help me out, will you, some of you?
It's necessary to think a little.
Pardon?
Is it that it's necessary to think a little about our needs, but not to finalize it into a...
I know. I'm objecting to the word need altogether.
Is it more a demand of excellence should be the approach rather than needs?
Is that it? I may have wanted the excellent pair of trousers.
I mean, psychologically.
No, even then, you see,
A need is something that I want for myself. But is excellence something that I want for myself?
Partly, sir. Let's go into it, you and I, for a moment, if you're willing to discuss and have a dialogue. I am objecting to the restrictive meaning of that word, first. I'm also objecting because it implies a calculated limitation.
It seems that there's something that needs, that in the need there's a...
I feel lonely. Then I say I need companionship. Then that word implies an escape from the fact.
That's not really a need, that's a want. It's not
So,
really.
against want, I want.
It becomes a desire.
Yes, same thing. So one has to be awfully careful here.
But a plant needs water,
Yes.
but it doesn't concern itself with getting water or...
No. Fortunately, in this country it rains. But in Asiatic countries, or parts of the Asiatic countries, or in Arabia, there is no... It doesn't rain very often, then the plant needs a gardener or somebody to water it.
Let's not get into plants, because one can argue about plants do seek water and do seek things, but let's leave plants out of it. What are you saying that if there is a psychological benefit from involved in the need, that this is incorrect? If there's an enhancement psychologically?
Yes, partly.
Surely the body needs water. The body needs food. That's straightforward enough.
So, the problem really starts when we bring in physical needs into psychological needs.
So trying to say that when you say I need something, you shut yourself off from you don't inquire that anymore. You think it's something which is almost a fact.
Yes. Go on, say, explore it more. Help me out.
Well, how do we define need?
Huh?
How do we define need?
That's
We
why
all
I
have
don't
different
want to define
definitions
need.
of need.
That's why I said the state, a communist totalitarian state, says you need that and no more. And here you say, I don't want to be told by anybody what my needs are. Right? Because you think you are free to choose your needs. Right? Right? So, the choice gives you the feeling that you are free to do what you want. I am objecting to choosing. Because you choose when you are uncertain. If you are certain, there is no choice. Are you following what I'm saying? So when we say I need or I require, it is my urge, is that a form of choice? This is too abstract.
Are you saying instead of sitting down and saying, what is it I need in my life, that will take you in the wrong direction altogether?
I feel that
There's
way,
different-
yes. You see, if if we start not with needs, but with freedom, I'm getting into slowly. Freedom. Freedom implies non-attachment to anything. Huh? Would you agree? Even theoretically, please. Would you agree to that? Intellectually, though you may be attached, I'm not attacking you about your attachments. But would you say that there is no freedom when there is attachment? Huh? Would you agree to that? So, is freedom denied when I restrict myself to a particular form of need? Yeah, all right, let me put it the other way. Freedom is necessary, because otherwise you can't think properly, you can't observe, you can't, if you're not free, you are a slave. Now, is attachment a need? To be attached to an idea, to a prejudice, to a conclusion, to a person, to a house. Go on, sir. Answer me. Oh?
It is felt as a need. It is felt, it is perceived as a need.
I'm asking you, Maya, is freedom, attachment a need? I know, but is it? I may think that that attachment is necessary, but is it? Because we have said freedom denies attachment, right? But thought says, old chap, forget freedom, because being attached is much more important, it's satisfying, and so on. So I get attached, and therefore deny freedom, right? Then I say to myself, attachment is a necessity. I don't know if you're following all this, right? So, the emphasis is on freedom. And anything that restricts that, I'll put aside. If attachment is the denial of freedom, I won't have it. Because I've inquired into the implications of attachment, the consequences of it, the dangers of it, and see that any form of attachment denies freedom. Therefore, intelligence says you cannot have both. Right? Are you following this? And so, when I restrict my needs, which doesn't mean I must have everything, when I restrict my needs, or I say to myself, I only need this, am I not also, in a subtle way, denying freedom? What do you say, sir?
Are you saying that by saying I need
you're implying that I can't function without this or in any other way. So in that way it's restricted.
Yes, but so I wish you would answer my question. Am I denying freedom when I say my needs are these?
We attach ourselves to the idea of our needs. We attach ourselves to the idea of our needs, and then
no, I may not be at. That's partly it.
We're attached to fulfilling the needs. If we say that we need this, then we're attached to fulfilling the needs.
Go into
The needs may change.
what's that?
The needs may change.
Needs may change.
if we have no idea of our needs, we have the freedom to take at the right moment what we need, in fact, without that idea.
So what will you do? You understand? That freedom implies non-attachment, right? To ideas, to needs, to various forms, etc. But it doesn't mean that you must have everything, as much as one, which is a denial of freedom too. Right? Right? So, when freedom is all important, what is your responsibility with regard to what you require? You understand my question? You understand my question?
So are you making a distinction between the assertion of what one's needs are and the just looking and needs make themselves apparent?
I am not concerned about my needs. If I have trousers, I have trousers. If not, it's all right. I'll put on the old one. But I'm not concerned with needs. I don't know if you follow what I'm saying.
Are you also saying there's something mechanical about having needs?
Yes, and also it is very limiting. And also I must be very careful when I say I'm not concerned with needs. I want more and more and more. I don't mean that.
In that area, one has to have some intelligence, because one can easily rationalize one's needs into needing 200 of something.
Of course. But as I said at the beginning, it is absolutely necessary to be free. That is the essence of it. If that is what is the real urge, the excellence of freedom, then in talking it over with you about needs, this and that, attachment, so on, the intelligence is beginning to operate or beginning to be awakened. Is it being awakened in you? I feel intelligence will say, look, don't do this and don't do that. In that there is no conflict, you follow? Whereas if I say I need this and no more, and suddenly I may have a desire for more, and there is a battle. There's conflict, there's struggle. I've said I need only this, and I find if the conflict begins. So I'm trying to avoid conflict in myself by understanding the absolute necessity of freedom. anything that restricts, anything that denies freedom is unintelligent. Like attachment is unintelligent. Huh? Agree? Even intellectually, you agree? Please verbally, you can say, yes, I agree with you. And go on being attached. Which means that you are really not understanding how important it is to have freedom. Because otherwise you can't mature, you can't grow, you can't flower. Look, all right, let me put it on this way. Some of you come here from a society, from a family, already established in certain grooves, certain opinions, certain judgments, certain way of living, right? You come here. And here they say, for the beginners, you must have certain rules. Wait a minute, go slowly. Go slowly, don't jump. Don't jump on it. They say don't smoke. That's one of the rules. And you are used to smoking or doing something else, another habit. And when you come here, they say, please don't do that. They explain it to you. Go into it very carefully, how harmful or this or that. But you have formed a habit, right? So you are in conflict with what Brockwood says and with your own habit, right? Now what will you do? Bearing in mind all the time, freedom is absolutely necessary, right? Freedom doesn't mean doing what you like, right? Because you can't do what you like. That's impossible, right? But you have understood freedom means to do what you like. So you say, well, I smoke and I'm free to do what I want. And here Brockwood says, don't smoke. So you're in conflict, right? But you have forgotten the essence of being free, which is not to be attached to any habit. Right? Your habit is to smoke. Your habit to say, I will do what I want to do. Right? That's a habit. Especially in a permissive society that says that allows you to do what you want. So you are fighting a restriction here, right? Rules, if you like to call it. But when this is carefully explained, these are not rules, but we have gone into it and seen that is bad for your health and so on, so on, so on. And you are unwilling to listen, right? Right? Because that's your habit. So what will you do? Which means you really don't want freedom. Right? Freedom implies being attached to a habit. Right? not to be attached to a habit, to a person, to this or to that. You see the problem? So, Brockwood says, examine it. Find out. Don't say, I must smoke. Explore it. We'll talk to it over together. So that you yourself begin to have this intelligence that says, all right, I won't smoke. And that will take time, won't it? Because you come afresh, and you are caught in that habit, and it takes time to explain to you gently first, and you keep on doing it, then gets irritated because you do it. So you have to, both sides, your responsibility and my responsibility is to say, look, freedom is absolutely necessary. And freedom implies don't be attached to anything, your habits, your prejudices, right? That is intelligence. That intelligence will tell me what I require or not require. I'm not bothered with limiting my needs. I wonder if you understand this. Are we meeting each other now? I feel it's unintelligent to say my needs are these. That's a danger in this. Because if I'm not very careful, I say then I will do, all my need, I will require everything for more and more and more. So my intelligence says, being free is the most important thing, and anything that comes in the way of that is unintelligent. Right, sir? Won't you, somebody trip me up? You see look at the totalitarian states. Those who are privileged, like the artists, the politicians, the scientists, the elite of a certain society, they've got extraordinary comforts. They beat the capitalist society, right? With their dashas and all that. And that society says to the others, you need only that. So, can we really see the importance of being completely free? Not what you want to do, what your desires, your habit. To be free implies complete unattachment, detached from habits, prejudices, tradition, persons, ideas. Gosh, if you do that, so we are saying, at the end of this talk, will you demand the highest form of freedom for yourself? Does it deny affection, love? Go on, sir. Does it? I'm attached to you. And that attachments make me say, I love you. And I realize that attachment is the very denial of freedom. then what is my relationship with you to whom I have said I love you? I'm attached to you. You follow all this, go into it. What's my relationship to the person with whom I have lived, with all the implications of it? And I realize one morning or one afternoon of hearing somebody, I realize freedom is so extraordinarily important. And therefore I tell my wife, look here, old girl, I'm detached. I'm not attached to you. She'll say, what the dickens are you talking about? Follow this, sir. Go into it very carefully. And I say to her or him, I'm free from attachment. Does that mean I have no responsibility towards her? That I don't love her? Is love attachment? You follow what? You're following all this? I wonder if you see this. The lady to whom I have been married or girlfriend, I have said before, I love you, and because I need you, you are my companion, I am sex, I need you. And one day I read a book or find out for myself how extraordinarily important it is to be free. To me, that is absolutely in my blood. And I go to my wife or girl or boy, whatever it is, and I say, look, attachment implies no love. Love can only exist when there is freedom in our relationship. Will she accept it? Will she merely tell me, oh, you don't love me? Because my relationship with her may have been based on need, sexual, need for companionship, need for various forms. Consciously or unconsciously, I have become entangled in my attachment. You following all this, right? See the difficulty. So, I see freedom implies love, responsibility. Attachment doesn't. Though society, the whole world says attachment means responsibility. That's why you have a piece of paper that says you're married. You understand? Legally or in the church, says you're married. See the complications of all this. But it becomes extraordinarily simple if you and I, the woman and the man, the boy and the... See, freedom is absolutely essential for human flowering. If both of us see, then it becomes very simple. Right? Then you are not attached, I am not attached. Then perhaps in that there is an affection, there is care, there is responsibility, there is love. But attachment never can have the beauty of love. It's only with freedom. So my needs are not dictated by the intellect, by thought. I think we better stop, don't you? 1:15. Oh, we started at 12. Oh, I'm sorry, that's all right. Is that enough for this morning? I think so, don't you? Hmm? Right?